Hello and welcome back everyone to Blended Geometry Nodes workshop for Jungle Vines. In the last lesson, we set ourselves up with some nice cleaned up area over on the left hand side. We still have some work to do on the right hand side, but before doing that, we're going to add a bit of a switch to make sure we're able to switch between empty selection and random selection. So how do we do that? Well, it's actually quite simple. All we need to do is grab ourselves something called switch. And I think before doing that, I'm going to go ahead and select both of them like so. Just move it off a little bit to the side. So we'd have extra space to work here on this end, like so. We're going to grab ourselves something called switch. And we're going to add it over here. And now we're going to grab ourselves this switch. Make sure we are setting this up with a Boolean, like so. So either true or false. This will allow us to control that, like so. For the Boolean itself, we need to make sure we set it up with our value that we're able to control it through this section over here. Let's go ahead and add a new item like so. Create an input like so. Change this to a Boolean like so. So this is a simple switch on the right hand side. We can call this one something like use empty like so. And we're going to attach this to the switch. So let's go ahead and click Shift and A, search for group input. We're going to put it off on the side, use empty, set it as a switch, click Control and H to make it much smaller, like so. And I'm actually just going to put it right above this point over here. So if we're using empty, if this is true, we're going to use empty selection. And if it's false, we're going to use a random selection, like so. So now we can actually go into the monkey itself and see how it works. If we select use empty, you should be able to make use out of that. Let me just have a look. So use empty turned off, and I'm not seeing setup. I'm just wondering why that is the case. And I just realized that I forgot to connect it over here. So output and vertex, there we go. Use empty, it's going to start using it over here to create it on our custom section. And when we turn this off, it's going to give us random points, which is exactly what we want. And yeah, that's looking so far so good. Now we can go ahead and slightly control where it's actually going to be set up with, how it's going to be set up. And at the very top, we'd like the seed to be visible. As you can see, the order of the setup for the parameters is based on this section over here. So what we can do is to change up the order, we can click and hold and then drag it up like so, right above the start empty underneath the geometry to make sure that the seed is at the very top. We can also do that same for start empty and use empty. So use empty can be right underneath it, like so. Actually, there we go. Start empty and then use empty like so. We can select it and basically determine whether or not properly set up. Now, as for the labels itself, though, I'd like to have some nice labels so we could actually break up these parameters, break up the information. And for us to do that, we can create a new input. We're going to go ahead and actually select the seed. We're going to click on the plus and click input. And that's going to give us a socket right underneath the seed. If we set this up to a string, like so, we're able to write in the text. We can go ahead and just delete the information from here. Since it's not necessary, we don't have any information on this point. We can go ahead and delete the name for the socket. But when we go to default, if we write something like starting points over here, we should get ourselves after writing the starting points, we can reset the default value by either right-clicking and reset the default value, or as you can see, it says backspace. So whilst hovering over this socket, we can hit backspace and it'll reset the default value, which is at this point called starting points. So this will give us a very nice label to be able to just break apart information, and it'll give us nice controls overall for the geometry node. Then we can add another label. We can go ahead and select this empty socket, empty string that is. we can click on this little arrow over here and click duplicate item, which will give us a duplicate. We're going to go ahead and change the name. We're going to change this to curve generation, like so. We're going to move this a little bit downwards. So it's going to be after use empty, like so. We're going to change the default to be different. So default should be saying, yeah, it should be saying curve generation. I'm going to add the space, make sure we have the word separated. Then I'm going to hover over this, click backspace, and that's going to refresh itself. And I will actually move the start count as well. So let's go ahead and do that. I'll just drag it all the way under the use empty. So it will be within the same section basically. And let's have a look how this overall setup looks like. I would like to also box in these sections over here, but ideally let's go ahead and get ourselves up with the leaves first. Let's spawn them in and then we can continue on with the cleanup, because this starting point is going to be pretty much done. With these sections over here, we're going to make use out of and whatnot. So we're going to continue on with this further down the line. For now though, let's go ahead and just quickly check which things need to be hidden, for example, if they need to be hidden at all. So let me just go ahead and look through it. These groups inputs can be hidden as well. This could also be hidden, like so. I'm just checking, making sure that nothing is set up in an awkward position. For example, the spline length, we can hold shift, drag it across using our right mouse button and simply set it up like so. And I'm going to have a look over here as well. And be hidden as well. And for now, that's going to be good enough for us. We're going to continue moving on with this in the further lessons. So thank you so much for watching, and I will be seeing you in a bit.